Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the Money Down Pod. I am Kayvon and Shawn alongside my guy Shawn White. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is the NFL preview show heading into what is this week 11 now, Shawn, or week 10?
Yeah,
Week
I think 10.
Yeah, week 10, because week 11 is college football. Goodness gracious, time's flying, and there's a lot of big news that happened yesterday. Yeah, it's so funny. We come into these shows, Shawn, thinking let's break down some games, and I feel like every single time something big ends up happening right before, which is great for us because we get to talk about it. So thank you, everyone, for listening. First of all, I know Veterans Day was yesterday, but happy Veterans Day to anybody out there that is watching. We appreciate everything you guys have done and are doing for our country. Shawn, how are you doing today?
Doing all right. Yeah, happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there. Thanks for serving. All that's great. We appreciate it. And doing well. Still at the North Carolina setup. This will be the last one on there, so I'm a little darker. Mike's not as good, but hey, we get through it and ready to get to this news because the NFL stays giving news out all the time. So
yeah, hey man, we appreciate that you're here. That's all that matters. Real quick, how long is that drive for you heading back?
12, 13 hours.
I guess that's not terrible.
Yeah, it's not horrible. It depends. Some places like going through Virginia, Baltimore can give you traffic. New York, New Jersey,
Yeah.
The normal places, they'll slow you down a little bit. If you leave in the middle of the night, it's a solid 12 because no one ever slows you down. But if you go in the morning and try to go all day, it's about a 13, 14.
Nice. At least you got your wife there. You got to have company. You guys talk and,
Yeah, we'll switch off at some point. She just doesn't drive the hard parts. Like she won't do like New York, New Jersey, anything like that.
I don't blame her.
Yeah.
That honestly sounds tough even for me. Those parts are tricky, I bet.
Oh yeah, traffic can get bad, especially like George Washington Bridge. Oh yeah.
Awesome. Well, drive safe back, man. All right, let's get into it, dude. I think the biggest news of the day, really, in our part of the country, a lot of people. I mean, the biggest news of the day is Cam Newton. I mean, I know that Panthers fans are just psyched about this because of what Cam has meant to that franchise. And so I think we should start off with that selfishly, just because we're around the Cam Newton news a little bit more. I listened to North Carolina, Charlotte local radio pretty much all day yesterday because I wanted to get a vibe of what the people were calling in were saying, what the people that host these shows were saying. And Shawn, I can tell you, man, it was overwhelmingly just excitement. Like it just felt like every single Panthers fan was excited. But what I noticed was it wasn't excitement that, oh, Cam's going to come in here and save our season, or Cam's going to come in here and bring us to the playoffs. There was optimism. There was for sure optimism. But it was more of just like, because of how things ended. And let's be honest, the Panthers did Cam dirty. Cam was blindsided out of nowhere. And we don't have to bring this up because I know it's a sensitive topic for a lot of Panthers fans, but Cam Newton was blindsided. He was told he was going to be the starter. Then he was out there rehabbing, and out of nowhere, they signed Teddy Bridgewater. He gets cut. He was blindsided. So clearly, they had to make amends, put all of that behind them, and they clearly did. And that now things are good. So I think because of that, Panthers fans are happy that Cam's coming back on a better note, that maybe things can end better with the franchise. And then I think there is some optimism that, okay, we have a really good defense. We're only one game out of the last wild card spot, which is up for grabs for everyone really in the NFC right now, minus a couple teams. Maybe he can do something magical and put us on a run with how good this defense is. What are your thoughts and feelings and what you're hearing from some of your Panthers fans and just what this means for Cam coming back?
Yeah, we get a ton of Panthers fans listen to the show just because friends and family are from this area, so we know a lot of them. And then obviously once they watch, the algorithm probably just geologically will kind of throw it to some other Panthers fans. It's just on YouTube looking for sports stuff. So we do get a lot of Panther fans out there. My thoughts on the Cam Newton thing is it's a nostalgia play almost, but they're also desperate because Darnold's played so bad that they need almost any kind of upgrade they can. And PJ Walker and Matt Barkley are not those guys. So they kind of just signed the best free agent quarterback out there that they could sign which was Cam, and it's a reunion. So obviously the Panther fans are feeling real good about having him back. I don't think I agree with you. I don't think they're thinking, oh, Super Bowl or MVP season Cam. But I do believe that they are going to think he's an upgrade over Darnold, which I can't fault them at this point, the way Darnold has played. And I mean, Cam, his shoulder might be shot, but he'll still get you the run plays going. And if McCaffrey comes back healthy, it'll be a dynamic run game. So it's going to be an interesting little thing. And they signed him at the right time because honestly, nobody really expects them to beat the Cardinals this week. That's a big number, and I don't know if I can take the number because Colt McCoy might be playing again. But I don't think anyone really expects them to beat the Cardinals, especially with PJ Walker. So this gives them a good 2 weeks, get Cam in the system, get him up to speed with Rule and Joe Brady, and get that thing going, and maybe see if they can make this playoff push, because I think that's what a lot of people are optimistic about. That, hey, we might get this last wild card. We'll see how good Cam does. We'll relive some of the past glory days. And, it'll be a good mending fences part for the franchise because he is one of the best players in franchise history for them.
Completely agree. That's exactly what I think it is, too. And look, you get in the playoffs. The NFL is a sport where anything can happen, especially when you have a pass rush, which is what the Panthers have. Cam Newton can always turn it on. It's just we just don't know what he's going to look like. I'm someone that thinks he still can play football. I do believe that. Now, I do not think he can be Cam from 2015. But do I think he could be Cam from pre-COVID, what we saw in New England? Definitely. I think he could definitely be some of that, especially with some pretty – I mean, the weapons he'll have with Carolina are better than the weapons he had with New England and DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson and McCaffrey and all that stuff. But I think the biggest news here is it's just – and not to take a shot at Panthers fans, but it's honestly an embarrassment how bad the Panthers have botched their quarterback situation. I think that is the biggest news in all of this, where to the point where they are scrambling week 10 of the NFL season to find someone to replace a guy that they picked a fifth-year, $18 million option on. Like, let's not forget that. Before this guy even played a down for the Panthers, they picked up his option because he fooled everyone. I mean, everyone thought it's the Jets, it's not Darnold, and we realized that it is Darnold. And obviously the Jets were a big issue of it too, but Darnold's just not a good football player. So they pick up Darnold, they trade a second, a fourth, a sixth to get him. They pick up his fifth-year option, which is a big cap hit, before even watching him play it down to see, is it really the Jets or is it really Darnold? Then they're sitting there at the 8th spot in the draft. They could get Justin Fields, who, by the way, on Monday night looked like he is getting better by the minute. They could have picked up Mac Jones instead, which, by the way, I like the cornerback that they picked. I know he had a bad injury. That's unfortunate. He's going to be a good player, but everyone knows a cornerback's not as big to a team as a quarterback. They botched it, man. Every single possible way they botched it. And them signing Cam Newton is just some sticky glue to hold it down for half of a season. And if they are lucky, and this is the most lucky possible thing, maybe get Cam for one more season if he's able to play well. Maybe. But that's all this is some sticky glue for half of a year, and if lucky, a year and a half. And then they're right back to square zero with arguably one of the worst situations in the league in terms of having a good team, but not having the most important position in a quarterback. They have botched this quarterback position every single way to Sunday.
Yeah, I think that isn't being paid attention to enough, is they've made some super questionable moves so far in the front office. And you're right, Cam is kind of like the little flex tape meme where it's the little hole pouring out there with the water, Hey, no quarterback play. Cam Newton smacked the flex tape on there. And with the way they're set up, I'm going to be honest with you, unless they're signing someone in free agency or unless they're drafting somebody real high, and they're not going to have some ammo to move up unless they give up in the future drafts, they're going to be stuck with him next year, possibly. Yep. Like, they're going to have to really evaluate that in the offseason, because it's not only the move you were talking about with Darnold where they overpaid him and gave up the picks with him. they also got fooled by that 3-0 record to start with and started making some win now moves that gave up a
Yeah,
lot of draft picks. To
great
the
point.
Jags, they traded for CJ Henderson, who I can attest from like insiders that I follow and know, he doesn't even want to play football. Like he might retire. He doesn't
Yep.
even want to play. And they traded a third round pick and Dan Arnold, who's actually been the Jags' leading receiver the last like 3 weeks at tight end. They traded that away, and he was playing well with Darnold too. He was one of Darnold's safety blankets. So they traded that away for C.J. Henderson, who's given up, I think, a perfect passer rating and coverage to the people he's covering right now. And then after that, J.C. Horn was hurt, and then they were still giving up the plays with C.J. Henderson, and now they've traded picks for Gilmore. So
Yep.
they got confused by that 3-0 record when really they kind of should have just stayed pat because J.C. Horn is coming back. I mean, he's out for the year, but he's coming back. He's going to be a good player.
Yep.
And it really botched their quarterback situation and all these picks they're giving up. Their next draft is going to be maybe a first round pick, and then they don't have another one until the fourth or fifth,
Yep,
maybe
that's
something
it.
like that. So to move up in the draft, it's going to be kind of sacrificing your next two drafts, really, for first and seconds there. So they're either going to have to stay in pat and draft somebody where they're at, which you never know what you're going to get because they're going to be middle of the pack, and then or either they're going to go for a free agent. And who do you really want to do with that? Do you want Jimmy G? Ugh. That's just a rough situation. They might just stick with Cam for another year, especially if he plays well. So they are in that kind of quarterback purgatory thing. And I think that should be your biggest concern. But the front office has definitely botched some things. Number one, overrating themselves. And number two, in the offseason, just believing way too hard in Darnold.
Yeah, without a doubt, 100% well said there. And that's the interesting thing to me of them going to get Cam, because they're looking here and saying, okay, Darnold is not going to get us into the playoffs, but they have an owner that clearly wants to keep swinging for the fences. So instead of saying, and I'm not going to fault them, by the way, I'm faulting them on screwing up with this quarterback situation, but I never fault a team that's not trying to tank, because they could sit here right now and saying, look at our record. Okay, we're not very good. We don't have much going on the offensive side of the ball. We have a good defense. We're 4-5. Let's play PJ Walker. Maybe win one more game. See what we can be top 5 picks with a 5-win team. Maybe, I don't know. You never know. But I think maybe they're looking at your point for that you've been making. Maybe they don't like any of the quarterbacks in this draft. So maybe they're saying, you know what? We still have an aggressive owner. We don't like any of the quarterbacks in this draft. So let's at least try and support the fan base here. Bring more money, because bringing in Cam is going to fill up the seats whether you're winning or not, because that fan base loves Cam. Like, they are going to sell out that stadium now every single Sunday because Cam is there. So that's a positive. But what it is it's just a placehold once again. And I don't know how they're going to end up finding their quarterback unless they go all in for Deshaun Watson. But like you just said, they don't have much to give up. So now you're going to have to start getting into the realm of, do you have to give up Christian McCaffrey? Do you have to start giving up these pieces that you don't want to give up because you need these pieces when Deshaun Watson comes? So it all circles back to they are in big, big trouble. And again, I like J.C. Horn. I wanted J.C. Horn if he was ever going to make it that far down. If we were going to trade down instead of take Kyle Pitts at 4, trade back, I would have been fine with taking J.C. Horn. But you can't pass up on Justin Fields at number 8. You just can't do it. I personally wouldn't even pass up on Mac Jones at number 8, but I like Mac Jones more than others. I wouldn't have done it. And I think it's an embarrassment that they did. I really do. Justin Fields' potential is so high. For him to slide to number 8 for you, it's shocking to me that they did not go after him. And I think it's all because they legit thought they had something in Sam Darnold. And that's bad scouting. That's bad everything that you can look at it. And now they're sitting in this situation. And at least they'll be a fun team to watch because Cam is back and Cam makes everything interesting. But moving forward, don't let maybe them sneaking into the wild card spot fool you. This team's in trouble moving forward.
Oh yeah, the future is going to be an issue for them. That's for sure. But like you said, their owners aggressive enough to where they might can find a way to get something done.
Yeah.
It's just not going to be a lot of quarterbacks out there. I mean, I know you got the Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson rumors, and I'll believe that when I see it. I think they might stand pat where they are, but they might just.
Rodgers not going to Carolina. I mean,
Yeah,
even if
that's
the Rodgers rumors night, he's not going to Carolina.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. They're not going to choose Carolina if they go somewhere. And I mean, Deshaun's already kind of blocked trades to everywhere but Miami in the season. So we'll see what he does in the offseason, but it's going to take a boatload of players or picks from Carolina to go there. And I don't know if that's going to just happen. You know, them trading McCaffrey would kind of kill the fan base. Like even if they have Deshaun, I don't think people like Deshaun around here enough for that to happen.
Agreed.
I mean, a weird thing is there's not a ton of Clemson fans in the Charlotte area. Most all of them are like University of South Carolina Gamecock fans, so they hate Clemson. So they're not going to fan base wise. I mean, Deshaun could come in and easily play well, and then everybody will be okay. But like, they're not going to be hyped up for a trade of trading their best player in McCaffrey and then a bunch of picks for Deshaun Watson. I think they're going to stick with Cam. Honestly, I think they might stick with Cam for another year, unless a quarterback that they do like falls to them, because I don't see them really trading up. Maybe they like Sam Howell a lot because I'm sure they scout him a ton just from the proximity. And since he's been falling, maybe he falls to him or something, and they're okay with that. It's going to be an interesting situation moving forward. And we're, like I said, our podcast is right in the middle of Panther country, so it'll be good to talk about it and interact with it. So yeah, make sure y'all comment some stuff. These Panther fans, y'all want to talk about it, come back at us. We'd love to hear from you on this move. I know a lot of people are hyped about it. Are you hyped? Are you not hyped? Let's hear about it.
Yeah, no, seriously, let us know. Do you think Cam can get you into the playoffs this year? And how do you feel about him moving forward? And how do you feel about your organization in this situation? Let's move on to the other big news of the day. And this is shocking news, in my opinion. I mean, to me, I knew that the Rams could be involved because the Rams are involved in everything right now that involves a superstar or a former superstar or a good player on the market. So I knew that they were involved, but I did not think that they would actually be making a run for Odell, and that's Odell going to the Rams, because I just didn't think Odell would want to choose them. Now, I understand LA. He wants to be in LA. I get that. But one of the biggest things with why he had issues in Cleveland is because he wasn't getting the ball enough. Now, maybe he's looking at it and saying, okay, that was Baker. That was all Baker, and Stafford's for sure going to get me the ball. Stafford will get him the ball, but you have a guy in Cooper Kupp who, I don't know if people notice this because it's Cooper Kupp. He is on a legendary and historic run right. He's on a Randy Moss 2007 run right now. Like, that is the numbers. If he continues at this pace, he's going to be looking at. You have Robert Woods that 2 weeks ago, before the Seattle game, or 3 weeks ago, he was complaining about not getting enough targets and everything was going to Cooper Kupp. So then Stafford had to change up and throw him a couple balls for the next couple games to get him happy. Like, this is a team that is already looking at ways to try and split up their targets more. It's a team that's doing very well on offense. And then Odell decides to go and pick them. How many targets is this guy going to really get? Is this just about wanting to win? Is this just about wanting to be in LA? This really surprised me from Odell's side. I get it from the Rams because the Rams are probably sitting there saying, why would we pass up on Odell? If he wants to come here, shoot, let's let him come here. It's one extra weapon. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So I get it from the Rams side, even though I don't think they needed him and it's a bit gluttonous now. But from Odell's side, is it just about he wants to win and maybe that will change his reputation, he thinks? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think Odell wants to win, but like we talked about, he could have went to the Packers and won. I think this is a LA thing more so, kind of looking at it just from a living situation. He obviously wants to be there. I mean, LeBron's tweeting him and everything. He's good friends with him. He's a star, so he wants to kind of be where other stars are, where maybe he could hide a little bit. I'm going to make a take on the Rams side that I haven't really heard anyone make, because right now everyone's like, oh, this is their motto. They just go after everyone. They do this. I think straight up the Rams went after him so that the Packers or Seahawks couldn't get him.
Smart.
I think they just wanted to keep him away.
I like that.
Yeah, so that's kind of my thing on the Rams. That's the only real reason you would go after him, in my opinion, just because Van Jefferson's not even a bad 3. They already have all that. Deshaun Watson's already wanted to be Deshaun Jackson already asked to be traded because he wasn't getting targets. Woods has been complaining, like you said, about target share, and Cooper Kupp's on a pace that's like Calvin Johnson. He might break the record pace, especially with the extra game. So I don't know how you're gonna. Well, we can talk about that at the end of the year if he does come close. I don't know how you kind of balance those two because he'll have the extra game on him, but now Odell's there, so everyone's getting single coverage, that's for sure. And I know they said they sold him on a 65% pass rate, but I don't care what you say. McVay's going to be running at some point. Like if the run starts hitting, he's not going to start throwing it just because Odell's there. He's going to keep that run game going no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how Odell handles that. I thought Odell would like to go somewhere like Green Bay. I mean, we talked about it on the last pod that we did for the NFL. I thought it would be Green Bay because, number one, it would lighten Adams on the other side, and he'd still get a good amount of targets from Rodgers. He'd be with a quarterback. He could produce, and if he wants to win, he's in a perfect situation to win and be with Green Bay. But I guess if you want to chase a ring, it is like an NBA team over there with the Rams almost, where they just acquire talent no matter what and just kind of throw it together. And if it doesn't work, oh well. And he is a free agent after this, so if it's real bad, I mean, I don't know if they're going to have the money to pay him, but they seem to know how to work the cap almost like the Saints do, where they can just sign whoever they want to. But it's going to be a crazy thing to see because I think he does want to be in L.A., but you are right with Robert Woods complaining. Do you think Odell maybe thinks, okay, well, Robert's out here complaining. Robert might get traded in the offseason and I'll just take his salary slot because I'm pretty sure Woods only has about a year or two left on his deal as well. So maybe he's just thinking, okay, I'm much better than Robert Woods. Let me show you. We'll have this going in the future and he'll be the guy that gets shipped out because, alphas think that way. And Odell's definitely an alpha receiver. So it's going to be fun to see how they do it. I actually picked him up on waivers in fantasy, so I'm kind of excited to see how he fits in this offense for my fantasy team. And as far as winning a Super Bowl, they're definitely going to be single covered the whole way, and the run game is going to be open. That offense is going to be real hard to stop unless you get a pass rush like the Titans did, and not many teams have an interior pass rush like that. So,
yeah. First of all, to that point that you said, I don't know if Odell is better than Robert Woods. I really don't know if I would take Odell over Robert Woods right now. I know his potential is better, but I haven't seen him play better in 2 years. So now you're right. He's obviously thinking that way because he's the alpha. So that's an interesting point. I mean, that definitely could help out the Rams if they decided to make a move like that. And speaking of fantasy, I have Kupp in fantasy, and I'm pissed off about this. If his targets go away, I'm going to be really, really mad about that because Kupp is just amazing right now. But the last thing on this, and it's just like, everything you said is spot on. They have to be the favorites or tied for the favorites to win it all right now because of the single coverage that everyone's going to get. The last thing I just want to say is, how is Stafford going to deal with this? Now, Stafford's been a quarterback where he's been used to forcing the ball to a star wide receiver in Calvin Johnson before. So, that's not my worry. But my worry is he's never been in a situation where he's going to have a bunch of people coming at him wanting the ball. And is he going to feel like he needs to force things, a couple throws each game to Odell? And can that maybe throw some chemistry issues off? Can that maybe throw a locker room issue out there? I don't think so. I think Sean McVay and this team is all in on winning. That's all that matters. But I think it's something to watch because I do think Stafford's going to feel, okay, we just went after this guy. He wanted to come here. I got to get him involved because Baker couldn't do it. I got to show everyone I can do it. He's going to force some targets Odell's way. But because it's single coverage, maybe it shouldn't matter. I don't know. But that's just something to follow along, I think, for the first couple weeks and kind of just see how that translates,
Yeah, I'm curious to see, too. I know they're not getting played as much as the rest of the league, that too high safety look. And it's because Kupp and Woods know how to get through zones perfectly and sit on them. And then they also have Henderson, who kind of home run hits pretty well out of the backfield. So if you give him too high safety looks too much, you're going to get hit with a run for about 15 yards because they're just going to get up on the second level. Now with Odell should be able to go over the top here because if they ever go to too high safety, you're just going to let Cooper Kupp destroy you in the middle of the field the whole game. So that is going to be one interesting thing. Deshaun Jackson didn't get a ton of targets over the top, but Odell can run intermediate a lot better. So I have a feeling McVay does have a set of route combos that he likes coming in with that. And maybe Kupp and Woods will interchange the slot a little bit more. Or maybe he'll even put Beckham in the slot every now and then just to get the matchup. But those three in a bunch formation is going to be very hard to cover. And I think McVay and Odell does know that. Like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing with Robert Woods plays out. Because Woods clearly thinks he's not getting the ball enough. And now you got Odell who thinks he's going to be like the guy there. Maybe not over Kupp, but he definitely thinks he's going to be the number 2. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out in the offseason and everything. They're definitely one of the favorites to win it right now, and I do think keeping Odell away from the Packers definitely gives them a better chance because I think if he'd have went to the Packers would have been pretty stacked on offense. It would have been real hard to cover them too. They'd have been more like the Buccaneers, where you had like 2 dominant receivers and a run game, and their run game's better than the Buccaneers right now. So it would have been shaky for the Rams to have to get over those 2 teams. Now I feel like the Rams believe they only have to get over the Buccaneers to win it, and maybe the Cardinals. But I don't think anyone really buys the Cardinals in the playoffs yet until they win games.
Yeah, we'll see about the Cardinals. Right now, Cliff Kingsbury should be he is actually the favorite for Coach of the Year, and he should be because he's been outstanding. But the point that you made about getting him away from the Packers is a really, really good point. And I think that's probably why they did that for the most part. So it will be interesting to see how things mesh from here on. Again, I don't think he is better. I mean, I know for a fact he's not better than Kupp. I mean, he's delusional for thinking that. I don't even know if he's better than Robert Woods. I think his potential, though, is if McVay does what he wants to do with him and if Stafford can hit him, which I think they will. So we'll see about that. Let's move on to some of these games here, Shawn. Let's start with the Falcons-Cowboys. Obviously, I'm a big Falcons fan. That's a really interesting game. First of all, it's the highest over-under. It's the highest total of the weekend at 54.5. So Vegas is telling us they believe there's going to be a lot of points going on in that game. And I believe there's going to be a lot of points in that game as well. The reason it's interesting is the Falcons and Matt Ryan have been playing tremendous lately. They just went into the Saints. They're on this high right now, while the Cowboys were on a big-time high, and then they got put down by just an embarrassing and atrocious performance against the Broncos last week. And now the question becomes, a lot of people think the Cowboys are going to bounce back and just really hammer it to the Falcons, and I could see that happening. The storylines in this game are interesting, obviously, because Dan Quinn, defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, was the head coach of Atlanta, had a lot of big-time moments, took them to the Super Bowl. Matt Ryan clearly knows Dan Quinn and what he likes to do very well, even though he has switched some things up this season. The Cowboys are going to want to win this game for Dan Quinn. They're going to want to get their offense flowing and looking right again. It's going to be a tough ask for Atlanta. I think it's a high-scoring game, though. I think both teams score points in this game. I think it goes over that 54. That's just my initial thoughts on the game. What do you think about it?
I do think the Cowboys are definitely going to bounce back a little bit this week. I don't expect to see them come out and play as bad as they did last week because that was just awful on all fronts. And the Falcons' defense just can't play like the Broncos' defense, to be honest. They really have – the Falcons have playmakers at all 3 levels, but it's just 3 guys. They kind of have Grady Jarrett, and then they have Deion Jones, and then in the back end they have Terrell, who's obviously a star, probably the best player on the defense.
Yeah,
I believe they are getting Dante Fowler back this week or next week.
We might get him back this week. Definitely next week, maybe this week.
So that would provide a huge help because I believe Tyron Smith is out again. And the Cowboys are 2 different teams when Tyron Smith is not anchoring that left side. Once he's not out of the game, that left side, that pressure, that does get to Dak way more than you would think, especially when they flip Terrence Steele over there. They kind of have 3 right tackles that are the backup. None of them are really left tackle material. They're all good on the right side. So having that mismatch over there might – go to the Falcons' favor a bit. But I still think the offense is going to come out and throw. I believe Dak's going to throw away from Terrell's side a lot because they just have so many weapons that they'll just end up switching whoever Terrell's on, he's probably going to look to the other side. And I believe the Falcons should probably counter and maybe just double to the other side and let Terrell go one-on-one and just play it that way. But Dak should come out and play well. I think Matt Ryan's going to come out and try to torch Dan Quinn a little bit, though. I think that's going to be something to watch. And I do think Kyle Pitts is going to be a mismatch for that defense. Unless you're going to try to put Parsons on him and maybe go freak on freak athlete-wise. But, I mean, you kind of want Parsons rushing the passer and being out there like a heat-seeking missile, so you don't want him in coverage that much. Pitts is a big-time mismatch for them, and it does suck not having Ridley. But that Pitts matchup and Cordell out of the backfield – going to be interesting to see. I fully believe Parsons is going to be on one of those at some point, just to try to cover the freak athlete part of it. I think Matt Ryan's going to come out firing. It's going to be closer than what Vegas has. I don't think that 8 points is going to be the win. I think it's going to be a closer game. Just got to see if the Falcons can hold on and not give up too many points on defense.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And what Cowboys fans, I just want you to understand what he just said. Dak is not going to throw to AJ Terrell. Matt Ryan is going to throw all freaking day to, now I'm blanking his name right when I want to make a heating point.
Kyle Pitts.
What?
Kyle Pitts?
No, to their cornerback.
Oh, their corners?
Yeah. No, their guy that everyone thinks is so good.
Oh, Micah Parsons? Yeah.
No, their cornerback that everyone thinks is so good. Leading the league.
Diggs. Yeah, they're going to run doubles on Diggs.
Yeah, so listen to that. Dak is not going to throw to AJ Terrell, but Matt Ryan is going to throw at Trayvon Diggs all game long, just like Teddy Bridgewater did last game. That is the definition of a not so good cornerback. He's got good ball skills. He can intercept the ball. He might even get an interception this week. But when quarterbacks continuously throw at you, you have an issue. And Matt Ryan's going to throw at Trayvon Diggs. They're going to throw at Kyle. They're going to throw to Kyle Pitts a lot. I think that's going to be the biggest game plan for Arthur Smith this week. The one thing that really worries me about, and I don't know if Mike McCarthy will do this. Now, he should, but they should just pound the ball on the ground with Zeke, because we have had an issue stopping the run. That's actually our biggest issue, honestly. We're not very good in the air, too. Like you said, our defense is a sieve. But yeah, on the ground, I mean, teams are running all over us. The Panthers, the reason they won that game a couple weeks ago is we strictly could not stop the run, and they just ate up the time. Like, they should put Zeke and Pollard back there, and they should just pound it. But sometimes I feel like McCarthy likes to really get Dak involved and Dak going, especially after that performance last week. I also think something that we should watch, man, Dak just didn't look right last week, and we kind of forget that he is coming off an injury. He didn't play 2 weeks ago, and it makes you wonder, should they maybe have sat him last week too? If he comes out this week and he doesn't look right again, that's something that we really need to start paying attention to, because maybe that injury is a little bit more severe than we thought, and maybe they rushed him back when really they shouldn't have, because Cooper Rush got them a win. They probably should have put Cooper Rush out there one more time. It might have just been a dead performance and everything's fine, but I do think it's another storyline to watch, because if they come out bad again and Dak just looks off, Dak's a good quarterback. It doesn't make sense for him to have 2 bad games in a row. I think you kind of count that up to maybe he's injured.
Yeah, and to go with your point with Diggs, honestly, I'd probably put Diggs on Pitts, especially if Pitts ever lines out wide, because Diggs' big issue is he jumps every freaking route. So if you have any type of speed receiver, you just double move him the whole time. Mm-hmm. So he gets beat, and unless he has safety help over the top. And as good as Pitts is, he might can double move you, but he's not going to double move you for like 75 yards down the field. It's going to be a double move for like 45. So you kind of have to like blanket on him that way, because if he does beat you, someone's going to be able to catch him running down the field, even though he is fast for a tight end. So I don't know. That's kind of where I would put him, and just have the target share go and hope you get a pick that way. But you are right about Terrell. Terrell's really good, and everyone needs to kind of watch out for him. It's just because he plays on a Falcons defense that gets torched a lot, but it's never him getting torched. It's always everyone else. So that's fun to look at. With with Dak, like you said, he definitely didn't look right. We'll see how that injury is. You're right. With Tyron Smith out, maybe they should have went with the Cardinals route and kind of set them. I mean, the Cardinals set their people on the 49ers, and most people thought the Niners would just cakewalk them, and they came out and just beat the hell out of them. So maybe they should have set them and just ran Cooper Rush one more time. But I do think Dallas was trying to go for that 1 seed at that point.
Yeah.
I think they really were going after it. And then they had that clunker. But so I think Dak is healthy enough to play because I don't think they'd play him this week after losing last week that way.
Yeah.
I mean, Tyron Smith being out is actually the big issue in my opinion. It just causes the whole line to be bad because Connor Williams is a bad left guard. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
He's bad at left guard. So now you have 2 bad ones on the left side. Once you have 2 bad O linemen side by side in an O line, it becomes like a free reign. You can just confuse them the whole game. Send stunts, send your extra pressure on that side. It's going to be interesting to see what Dean Pease comes up with as the Falcons D coordinator. And he's got the coverage on the back end, at least on one side, to be able to do some hot blitz type stuff. So it'll be good to see on that. I do think it's going to be a close game, like I said, and I want to see how Dak plays as well with that injury, and it'll be a good one to watch this weekend. So everybody keep it in mind. It's going to be a closer game than Vegas thinks, I believe.
No doubt. And to your point on that, that spread actually opened up Monday at Dallas -10, and it's already dropped to -8, which is telling us that some of those professionals, some of those sharps out there are clearly on Atlanta's side and think that was too high, to your point right there. Because let's be real, normal bettors don't really start betting early in the week like that. So they usually wait till Saturday, Sunday, or Friday when they start doing it. So if you start seeing lines move early, that's strictly coming from some of those professional gamblers and bettors out in Vegas. Shawn, let's move on here to another game. We wanted to tackle, what game was that? We had a couple in mind.
Browns Pats.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting. I think that's a good one we should touch on here real quick. It's I think you put it this way, it's a snooze fest, but it's an important snooze fest. It's a very impactful snooze fest. It's going to be a low scoring, run the ball type of game. Good coaching on both sides of the ball, but it's very important. Both teams are sitting at 5-4. Both teams now, with the Ravens losing this on Thursday night and with the Bills stumbling against you guys, both teams still have a shot to win their division still, which is crazy to say for the Patriots. I mean, I didn't think they were going to have a chance to do that, but they're 5-4. The Bills are 5-3. This is a really important game when it comes to the wild card picture at the end of the season. This could be a head-to-head, and it's 2 teams that play very similar football. They really do, if you think about it. They don't want their quarterback to do too much. When they need to make their throw, their quarterback does. It usually makes the throw for most of the time. But mainly, they want to put the ball in their running back hands, and they want to play good defense. And that is what both teams want to do. And I think it's going to be an interesting game for football fans to watch because of just the schematics and just because of the good level of football that's going to be played. It's not going to be a break your ankles, dazzling type of game. It's just going to be an old school, run the ball, play good defense, don't make mistakes type of football game in my mind.
Oh yeah, it's going to be some early 2000s basically. Yeah. It's going to be some your quarterback throws 20, 25 times, your running back gets the ball for 3 yards, 4 yards, maybe a 3rd and 2 or 3 completion, hand it to your running back for 5 yards. It's going to be one of those type of games. It's going to be a trenches game. And the Browns have one of the best offensive lines in general, especially the interior. They just paid both their guards. I mean, they're both great there. But Belichick always has some sneaky stuff on that D line to even upset the best offensive linemen there are out there. So he's going to come ready for that run game a little bit. So Stefanski's going to have to be in his bag on some play calls and some route running and all that, because it's gonna be a tight one as this game goes on. Baker's going to have to play mistake free. And one thing I've got to keep an eye on, I haven't checked it this morning, but Chubb is still in protocol. So I don't know if Chubb's going to play. I don't know if that's been announced. He's still in protocol.
Yeah,
there's a shot he can. But if he doesn't play, it's going to be all to Ernest Johnson. And Belichick's going to have that game of film on him. So I don't know if he's going to be like the Chubb level guy that's going to just do it on everybody, or if it's
Yeah.
going to be on a short notice type thing. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. But this is going to be a Damian Harris, whoever the Browns running back is, game. It's going to be a pound at both sides. It's going to be a defensive battle because the Browns defense is actually top 3 right now in yards allowed. They're actually really, really good. They're starting to mesh with all their new players. And then you got the Patriots, who's obviously so well coached. It's going to be a slugfest of a game, kind of a slog to watch, but it's still going to be interesting. And make sure you're playing those running backs in fantasy because they're going to get the ball a ton.
Yes, completely agree, man. Completely agree. Also, Damian Harris is questionable too. Now he's not in COVID protocol, so I think he will probably end up playing. But to watch out for that as well. He is questionable as well. That's 2 very important players that are going to be something to watch. But I think you nailed it on both of those on the scenario of that game there. Let's move on here to the Seahawks and Packers. Look, this is a game where coming into the season, we probably thought that this could be implications for the 1 seed, the 2 seed. Because of Russell Wilson getting hurt, obviously that's not the case. But Russell Wilson's back. Aaron Rodgers is back. The Seahawks are still easily able to get a wild card spot because, again, that last wild card, and even the Saints, the second wild card spot, if Trevor Siemian doesn't play well, both of those spots are still up for grabs. Obviously, the loser of the Rams-Cardinals division is going to get that first one locked up. But the second 2 are open, so the Seahawks can go on a run here. They're getting Chris Carson back. They're getting Russell Wilson back. The Packers are getting Aaron Rodgers back. It's going to be a fascinating 425 CBS game, man, that I think is going to be a really fun game to watch. I want to see how Russell Wilson looks coming back. Remember, this is Wilson's first big-time injury. This is the first time he's missed games in his NFL career. How does he bounce back from that? That's adversity from him. I think he's going to be fine. How does Rodgers bounce back from all the chaos that has happened? Is he able to put all that beside him and just play football? I think he does, but it's something to watch. I think the Packers win this football game. I do. I just think that Russell being out, he's going to be a little rusty. I think the Packers at home is a huge thing, but I could see it being a 3-point game. I could see it being a field goal type of game.
Yeah, I kind of think the Seahawks are going to win this. That's just my opinion.
Ooh.
I think Russell's going to come back fine. Russell kind of has this like corny shtick. Like, did you see him kind of like running 2-minute drills and stuff? Like, he's like, I've been rehabbing my hand for 20 hours a day and stuff. Yeah. For as shticky as he can be about stuff like that, I do think he'll come back. I think he'll be fine. Like, his hand's probably fine at this point. Like, he's just been working it enough. Or even if he had any like issue with it, he's probably thrown enough balls at this point to where he doesn't even really notice it. Like, that's just my opinion. He does work hard enough to do that. And I do think that Rodgers not having any practice this week is kind of going to throw them a little bit. Mm-hmm. While Rodgers is great, just coming in on short notice like that, not really having any practice to throw to your guys, I think they're going to be a little rusty, a little out of sync to have the rhythm going. Just don't know if his passes are going to be perfect where the receiver is like they normally are. I think it takes them another week to get back to being the well-oiled machine they are. And low-key, that last game against us that the Seahawks played before going into the bye, even the game before that, the defense had actually started playing a lot better.
Yeah.
Defense played well against Pittsburgh. Defense played really well against the Jags. And then they had the bye. So I do think the defense might be starting to improve and turn a corner a little bit. So maybe they come out. I think they're going to come out and know that, hey, we're going to need to win this game right here to get this momentum going for the rest of the season, get a wild card. Because I fully believe they are in that wild card hunt. If I had to put money on a team to make it, I'm putting it on Russell Wilson, the Seahawks, as long as he's healthy. You can't fault it. They always win. They win games with him. That's what they do. Even if they were shaky early in the season, he brings them back and they go on a run. If they're shaky late in the season, they've already built up enough and they make it. So I find it hard to believe they're not going to make the playoffs with the 2 weapons they have outside with Russell back there. Chris Carson's coming back. I just think it's going to be a big-time game for them. I think they win this game against the Packers. And that's something that I just believe happens with the defense playing better and Rodgers being a little rusty.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if they win this game, but I agree about your point of Seattle being in the picture for sure. I mean, with Russell Wilson, they really do just win. And he, especially if Chris Carson's coming back, Lockett's going to be better, Metcalf's going to be better. I would definitely have to put money on them of making it if I had to put one on a team. Again, I think it's a close game. I think it's a field goal type game. I think Seattle will be in it. I'm just giving Green Bay the slight edge because of the home field advantage there. But definitely the main thing I'll be watching is how does Rodgers look and how does Russell Wilson look. Hey, let's wrap things up here as we go to our final game, and then we'll go into our picks. We'll kind of recap some of our college picks that we had too for those that missed the college show. Chiefs Raiders. This is a big game here, man. This is a very fascinating game. Sunday Night Football. Chiefs at the Raiders. Chiefs are favored by 2.5. Over under is 52. Look, this Chiefs team just doesn't look good. Rodgers talked about this actually on the Pat McAfee show the other week about how sometimes quarterbacks will go into this thing where they get like the yips, like baseball players. Baseball players, they'll forget how their swing is sometimes and they'll get the yips. And same with golfers. It will happen and their swing gets all messed up and they have to rebuild their swing. It honestly looks like Patrick Mahomes has the yips. Like it looks like something is just off with him. Like I know everyone keeps saying these two high safeties and all that. I cannot believe that one simple coverage like that is going to throw off this guy that was absolutely tearing up the league for some of the best quarterback we've ever seen in the history of the league. He was doing in his first couple years. MVP, Super Bowl, AFC Championship game. Should have been to the other Super Bowl if it wasn't for lining up off sides. There's something that's off with Patrick Mahomes, and I want to know if he's able to get it back. And I don't think Andy Reid is helping him out enough. This happened in Philadelphia, and no one's talking about this, Shawn. In Philadelphia, as great of a play caller that Andy Reid is, his stuff got stale. It got boring. It didn't change. He never was adding new wrinkles, and he ended up getting fired because of it, because it just flattened out. And it's starting to look like the same thing is happening in Kansas City. Tyreek Hill's not running new routes. Travis Kelce's not running new routes. They're not creating different plays for these guys. I understand Sammy Watkins. You can't use that as an excuse anymore. It's a big deal, but it can't be that big of a deal. Andy Reid is not making enough creative moves to get this offense going again. And I feel like everything's about Mahomes. No one's talking about Andy Reid here, but it happened in Philadelphia and it's happening again here. And I like Andy Reid a lot, dude, but he's got to become more creative because the league has once again figured out his offense just like they did in Philadelphia.
That is a hot point, but a good one. I've never really thought about that, and that's an excellent take you had right there.
Thank you.
Because he never catches any heat, but you are right about that because every time Andy Reid goes in a slump, it's replaced because he has a new quarterback. So you are right about that because he had McNabb, and then that fell off, and then Vic came in, and Vic was good for a year, year and a half.
It was spiced back up
for a year. Kevin Cobb for a year was good, and that was a change. Then he hit Alex Smith, and he maxed Alex Smith out, but that last year he wasn't there. And then it was Mahomes, and now you are right about that. Andy Reid does seem to run the same offenses with the quarterbacks he has, and it's always the change of quarterbacks that gets him out of it. So that is interesting to think about.
Great point about the quarterbacks to add on to that, man. That's a really good point.
Yeah, that's actually once you were saying that, I was like, oh man, that has happened. So yeah, that's actually a very good point right there. What I was going to say is, and I'm on the Chiefs this week, the two high safeties, I know you got to come up with plays about it, but maybe Andy Reid just doesn't know how to call plays against two high safeties. That could be the case too.
He might not. He might not.
But what they have this week is they have Gus Bradley with his stubborn Seattle offense. They're going to play single high, cover 3. So they will be running free this week. Because whenever the Raiders do play good against the Chiefs, how they beat them, it's always a shootout. It's always 35 to 20 something. It's never, we held the Chiefs to no points. Like, no, they always score on them. I mean, Mahomes, some of their best games are like the first halves against Raiders on script. So, and the Raiders don't actually – the Raiders and Seahawks, both that play the single high still, they really can't play two high safeties as much because their safety, their strong safety, are nothing but box safeties. Abrams and my guy from Seattle, Jamal Adams.
Yeah.
Both of them are not coverage safeties. They have to play in the box.
Yep.
It's hard for those teams to play too high. So it's gonna be a kind of a little fest. I think Tyreek Hill might get loose this week a little bit. And I'm curious to see if that throw Mahomes made to seal the game against the Packers, I'm curious to see if that gets him out of his funk a little bit. I'm kind of predicting that throw kind of brought him back a bit. Maybe
it was a beautiful throw. It was an awesome throw.
So on the Raiders side too, I picked them last week because they handled the Gruden chaos so well. But this is a different type of chaos they're going through, and I don't think they've had enough time to acclimate Deshaun Jackson to that role. They had no over-the-top threat against the Giants, and it really hurt their offense. So I'm kind of thinking it's going to take them another week to get Deshaun ready to go, and maybe then they'll get it back on track. So I just kind of think this is a bad spot for the Raiders this week against the Chiefs. It's going to be a big game. It's going to be a huge division game because I think this is where the Chiefs have to make a run if they want to win the division and make the playoffs as tight as the AFC is. So I think this is going to be a good one to watch, a great Sunday night game.
Yeah, and that place in Vegas is going to be loud. That game's going to be so fun to watch. But I love your point about what Gus Bradley's going to do. And honestly, it just hammers home even more because of that defense that he's going to run and because how Mahomes has torched that defense year in and year out. It's always a high-scoring game. If we don't see the Chiefs offense torch this defense, then it's time to say, okay, it's not getting fixed. I mean, like, see, I think I know that's bold, but I think it's fair to say if we do not see the Chiefs come out and light this Raiders defense up and action, they don't have to win the game, even though I'm with you. I think they will. They got to put up points in this game. If they don't do it against that defense that they're very familiar with, and they've done it every single year, I think we can sit back and say maybe it's just not fixable this year, and we have to figure something else out. So I really, really like that point about the defense with Gus Bradley and what they're going to be running.
Yeah, I do want to see the O-line too, because that's the one improvement the Raiders have and the one kind of step back the Chiefs have. The Raiders do have a better defensive line with Ngakoue and Crosby on the edges, but usually that doesn't matter for Mahomes. Usually he just spins out and makes a play downfield or steps up. So that's kind of what I want to see him get back to right here because his O-line hasn't been as good. I mean, that Orlando Brown thing, Orlando, you might want to go back to that right side. Because, I mean, it's been an issue on the left. So I want to see how they handle Crosby and Ngakoue as a line. That's the one kind of thing that the Raiders defense are going to have to rely on. They're going to have to get pressure with their four like they have been all year, or else it's going to end up being them getting torched like they always do. Mm-hmm. They just don't have the coverage people for it in the back. So that's going to be the matchup to watch for. It's going to be those two against that O-line. Can they heat up Mahomes and cause some errant throws or something like that? And can the Chiefs receivers actually catch the ball this week? Because it's about every week they have a tip ball interception somewhere. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. And if you want to, we can go ahead and transition into some third and short, third and long.
Yep.
Because this is how we do it on the show: third and short, third and long. We're the money down. Third down is the biggest part of the game, so we like to make our lock picks. That's our third and short. Then we like to give you a long shot pick that we like, but we're not guaranteeing it's going to hit. It's kind of like a 3rd and 14. You convert it sometimes you don't. That's kind of how we like to do it. And one of my third and short picks this week is the game we were just talking about. I love the Chiefs. -2.5 against the Raiders this week. I think they win it. I think they win it by at least by a field goal. I think they probably get it by a touchdown, in my opinion. That's me. I think they're going to come out and play well, get it done for all the reasons I said before. So my first third and short, Chiefs -2.5 on the Raiders.
Yeah, great stuff. That's going to be a really fun one there. My short is Patriots -2. You might be able to get a -1.5. Get the best number you can. My third and short is Patriots to win this game. I don't think they blow it out or anything like that. I just think that them being at home, I think that their defense is going to be better. I think that like Shawn said, Nick Chubb being questionable. I think that the Patriots are going to win this game, and what's going to be a pretty boring game. I think that they ear it out. Give me the Patriots -2 or whatever best number you can get. Shawn, what's your third and long?
Oh yeah, on that one, the Browns also coming off wins. They seem to feel themselves a little bit, so that's a good
Yeah.
one too. There may be a step back there after a big blowout win. So my second, third, and short. I have two third and shorts. My second, third, and short is a game we didn't talk about, but I think is going to be an interesting one. I think the Vikings +3 against the
Oh, that's
Chargers.
right.
I think that stays close. I think the Vikings play well, and the Vikings do great what the Chargers are bad at. I think Dalvin Cook runs all over this poor Chargers run defense, and I think that at least keeps it close. They'll keep Herbert off the field for a while, and even though Herbert will score on them, it'll be a few possessions. He'll have to do it in fewer possessions each time. I think Kirk Cousins will be nice and comfortable because of how the run game's going. So I like that as a close game. I don't know if the Vikings win that one, but I like the number with the +3. So give me Vikings +3 on the Chargers as my second, third, and short.
Like that one a lot too. That's a good one. For my third and long, I'm going to take the Jets +12 against the Bills at home. Do not love this one, but I just think that the Bills are in a bit of a funk. Losing to the Jaguars could have made them really mad, and they come out and absolutely torch the Jets. But I think the Jets are playing better offensively. I think they figured something out on good ways to script some plays before they start the game. And I think things are clicking a little bit better for this Jets team. They're getting more healthy. I think Robert Saleh is starting to just settle in a little bit as a coach. I do not think the Jets win this game, but I do think that they can keep it somewhat close. Again, not a super confident one, but I do think that's an interesting game to follow for my third and long. Sean, what do you got?
All right, my third and long's a bit of a fun one. It's going to be a nice little prop. So I like Marvin Jones Jr. of the Jaguars. First touchdown is +1400. I like
Love that.
first touchdown against the Colts. So sometimes you just get these random players that just play really well against certain teams.
Yep.
It's strange, and certain corners too. You see that with Lattimore and Evans. Lattimore always plays well. Marvin Jones Jr. absolutely torches Xavier Rhodes and torches the Colts. It's very strange.
Mhm.
So he has great numbers against Rhodes, and I believe against the Colts when he was with the Bengals, he had something like in the two games they played, I think he had something like it's close to 20 catches for over like 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then the one game he played with the Lions, I think he put up 184 yards in one game on the Colts too. And then that's not even including his Xavier Rhodes games with the Lions when they played him twice a year in Minnesota. He just has this weird edge against Rhodes and the weird thing against the Colts. This will be his first game with the Jags. If the Jags get the ball first, Trevor Lawrence actually does a really good job on script this year. Usually that first possession is pretty solid. So I think as long as the Jags get the ball first, I believe there's a good shot that Marvin Jones Jr. is the touchdown scorer, and you can just get a little fun bet going on there. Put a few dollars on it to win a big one. Don't really sweat it too hard. It's just a fun one to do.
Some pizza money there for sure. That is a fun one. I love that. Awesome, great stuff. Anything else you want to tackle before we head on out?
No, I think we're good. Like I said, if you're listening on Spotify, make sure you follow along. If you're listening on YouTube, give us that like, subscribe. Any of the Panther fans you want to come back at us, any of the other teams you want us to talk about your team more, you want to talk about what we had to say about it, please come at us. We love to hear it. Give us any feedback you have. And we should be on Apple Podcasts here in the next week, like I've been saying. That just takes a little bit to submit. I'll be back at my normal setup next week, and I hope everybody enjoyed the show.
Yep. Thank you all for listening. As Sean said, subscribe, comment, let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you want us to talk about, and we promise you we will. Thank you for tuning in. Everyone have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. I hope your team wins, and we will be back to break it all down next week. Sean, have a great weekend, my man.
Have a good one.